There's been a few instances where our love for the game has been misplaced. Another came last night with the suspension to Paul Curtis, an absolute disgrace. No one playing or watching the game likes to see a player concussed, but the change to the fabric of the game needs to be discussed. And while we're on the subjects that are completely on the downswing, no matter how hard someone is trying, sheezy ball ain't a thing. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub to discuss everything from round 7 and look towards round 8. We're joined by St Kilda champion Lee Montagna.
Hello, Rabsy. A bit of a controversial start. Political there. I like it. Went down a path that we will certainly discuss because it has left a bad taste in all football fans' mouths.
Speaking of bad taste, this man definitely doesn't have any. It's the great Collingwood. Played a few good games for Carlton and dominates for Triple M. It's Daisy Thomas.
Thank you, Rabbit. That was a little political statement off the top, wasn't it? Areas we don't usually wander into.
Well, I got no skin in the game, so, you know, I'm not working for 7 or 9 or anything like that.
Rabsy takes for his own. And,
and of course,
Warren.
the Vol Damo himself, Damien Barrett.
We almost needed a disclaimer there.
Yeah,
just to protect ourselves on that brutality of
Spoke about Warren.
of messaging.
Triple M party camp, right? Well, we have to vote this week. There's a real election.
I went Monday.
You've
Got
already
it done.
done it.
Yes.
Did you get a sausage on Monday?
No, I did actually. Good one. I didn't go to where they had a sausage sizzle, but I thought get that out of the way. I had a little bit of downtime. It's been a hectic 3 weeks, hasn't it? With gather rounds, Easter weekend, Anzac weekend. So went and got it done, Damo. It's not sort of a bit awkward because there's the gauntlet. You know, everyone's standing in down the footpath and trying to hand out.
So what do I do? I take all 4 or 5. Yeah,
you're one or the other. You're either someone that politely says no to all of them, or you're the one the nice polite person that takes the
I
leaflet
take all of them
and then throw them in the bin.
just quietly get rid of the 4 I don't want.
Yeah.
I always like the fact that the Greens are handing out flyers that get thrown in the bin. It's like, come on.
They're recyclable.
Give us a QR code or something, brother.
Someone from Triple M went and voted early yesterday, and they got a photo with someone wearing a political T-shirt because that person wanted a photo. I said, I'd be very careful with that because you don't want to have your name associated with a certain political party.
Yeah. That's worse than
How
getting
would you handle
photographed.
that, Damo?
Who was
that's
it?
worse
Was
than
that
getting
Bill or
photographed with
Jing?
Neither of those two.
That's worse than getting photographed with a beer, though, isn't it? It's
Yes. Well, it's Stephen May.
Frothies.
Yeah.
Well, that's absolutely stuck. Will you go pre or will you do it on the day?
My intent is to do pre, but the week's got away from me to this point. So
really?
I don't know why. Because as you say, it's starting to ease off a little bit after those 3 weekends consecutively of extra commitments. But the bull, anyone?
The water
You've
bull.
you've been known to take a chopper down to the bull.
Disaster.
Can't go this year. You went last year, didn't you?
Last
the
year I
water bull?
went via helicopter.
That's right.
Outstanding way to go. Stopped on the way home if you remember to have a piss in some bloke's paddock. Chop her down, chop her up, see you later.
We got audio of you in the helicopter.
Seriously? How bloody good is the bull?
Not going. And again, it's a slightly weird one because usually the weather's horrible. It's usually hosed down, the track's muddy and crap. And this year, for whatever reason, it's 20 and sunny. Just a weird time of year. I don't know.
You been, Joey?
No, never done the bull.
Yeah.
I want to do it
Yeah.
just at middle of footy season, and I don't have any contacts to be able to get a chopper there and back in the day.
Maybe we
but
do an OB from the.
That's a good idea. Midweek rub
rub
next
at the
year.
bull.
How bloody good's the bull? You've done it, Damo.
I've done it many, many, many years ago, though. I was contemplated trying to get there this year with a few mates, but just couldn't squeeze it in.
If
But,
you think the gather round's sort of very blokey and very sport orientated.
I've heard schoolies for 55-year-olds, isn't it?
Yes, it's an
and
interesting
upwards.
sort of. Yeah, there's only 2 pubs to go to, so it gets pretty willing at times. But good time spewing. I'm not going.
Yeah, well, what are you making of the footy this week? Because we've had, I mean, as we said, some blockbuster games, haven't we, Dave?
Yeah.
It's been big. We've had some big games, and then we're just starting this week just with a bit of a soft launch.
although I'm
soft
really-
launch to
Go
round
to
eight.
the backside. Don't worry about the start.
I'm really excited, to the last game of
Yeah,
the round. We'll talk about that
absolutely.
when we do our predictions in the later in the show. But I think the QClash, the Sunday night QClash, could be, well, on paper, the game of the year.
Fair to say, footy in Queensland never ever been better.
Never.
Would that
never
be
better.
right? Yeah,
Never better.
100%.
Yeah. And what the Suns are doing too is, it seems legitimate, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it
And
does.
we'll get an answer on that on Sunday night.
Are you leading people on your train yet, the Gold Coast train?
Mate,
The people
but-
there, because I might be jumping on board. Can I-
Jump
Yeah.
on as many.
I want
We
a
are all
space.
welcome. You're first
Up in
class.
coach?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll be serving canapes and beer. It is flying. We are absolutely
Hors
humming.
d'oeuvres.
If they win this, the Suns, and I'm sure we will touch on it, but do they rocket into premiership favouritism?
Wow.
No, but they're going to be probably on the second or third line, aren't they? Yeah.
Can't wait.
Good. It's going to be fun.
It's probably the biggest Q clash in the history of the Q clashes, and we'll get your predictions for that later on, plus your fair dinkum or Fugazi. But up next, Damo, it is time for your news, and we'll have to start with Paul Curtis. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub with Joey, Daisy and Damo, all thanks to BWS. Fair dinkum or Fugazi still to come, plus your round 8 predictions, starting with Essendon and North Melbourne at Marvel Stadium tomorrow night. But Damo, the Tribunal once again is in the news. 3-week suspension held for Paul Curtis.
Yeah, for the tackle that caused the concussion on Josh Sin of Port Adelaide. We timecode this show because as we speak right now, early Wednesday or early-ish Wednesday morning, we don't know whether North is going to take this to the Appeals Tribunal. That's the news around it. But it does stand, guys. I'm uncomfortable with it, but I'd rather get the views of the two ex-players in this conversation because I don't think there was anything Paul Curtis could have done. And I take the view that accidents happen during an AFL game, and I think we just need to accept that. I also know it flies in the face of the damage done to Josh Sin, that being an act that the AFL wants to totally eliminate. Over to you guys.
I think you have to accept as a player that you are at some point going to get injured, whether that is a physical injury with a knee, an ankle, an arm, a shoulder, a broken bone, or now with concussion. The fact that the AFL have decided to stamp any sort of contact to the head out in this manner, tackling is part of our game and a very important part of the game that happens obviously regularly throughout.
It's part of the rules.
It is part of the rules, and that is now going to be changed because of a weird knee firing into the ground and causing someone to catapult forward, hit their head. I don't understand how the AFL sit there and don't have a lens that this was purely an accident. This is what we've asked of Paul Curtis in this instance. He has done. He's laid down beside. There's no double movement. He's done everything in his power. But then they phrase it as if he hasn't. If I was North Melbourne, I'd be absolutely irate. I'm not North Melbourne, and I'm already pretty pissed off as how this is looking because if this is now what we're doing going forward, the game's cooked.
As we timecode this, Damo, 10:15, the appeal, are they appealing?
I just said I don't know, and that's why I timecode it because by the time
Is
this
there any
conversation
point,
is
though?
finished, they may well have.
Like, is this the point when you can get a biomechanist in and you can look at the...
We'll find a way to change the law or the law's incorrect. Because you're right, there needs to be suspended, I would think, there needs to be some form of careless act in the incident. And this is the one where we're getting to the point now where there was no careless act in anything that he did. He dropped his knees. He brought Sin down to his knees, which was the first point of contact, which he did everything right. Unfortunately, the momentum...
Sin's knees
Sin's
buckled.
left
that's
knee,
right.
though. It wasn't just both of them.
Yeah.
It was one that splayed. Otherwise, he would have rolled on top of him like we see.
It's going to get to the stage now. If we are just going to suspend anyone who concusses someone, it will get to the point where a specky, if you knee someone in the back of their head, there will be an argument say, well, why is that now not suspended? I think it'll get to that stage. AFL will say, you were careless in your marking contest to launch with your knee. You knock someone out, you'll be suspended. And that is when the game will be kaput.
Well, I'll give you the example from the weekend. So you go the footballing act. So a tackle versus a specky, an attempted specky. Liam Ryan on Scrimshaw. Goes up, knee to the back of the head, unrealistic attempt, free kick against.
Yep.
Result, Scrimshaw has a concussion, won't play this week. Outcome, free kick, that's it, nothing more. A tackle, the same thing, executed poorly, free kick against. And now you're getting 3 weeks on the back of it. And I don't want this to be an example as to why we should be ruling out unrealistic attempts to take the high mark, because that is a real point of difference as to why our game is great.
Yes.
But it's also the physicality and the change in that. It's not biffs and punch-ons like it was in the 80s. It is hard, fair. It's a brutal sport, and that's why we love it. And what the AFL are doing now questions everything.
Just as in the early 90s, we weren't talking about what was and what wasn't a good tackle, as we are now with Paul Curtis, we will be talking about this high-flying mark in 25 years' time as being illegal. So it's just the way it's moving. None of us seem to agree with it.
And you're spot on about the system needs a complete overhaul. You've been on this for years, Damo.
But
You're
why
leading
doesn't
the
that
charge.
happen? Why don't we come up with it? Because everyone agrees. And poor Chriso sits there with his outdated timetable, and he then becomes
ticks
a
a
bit of
box and ticks another box and ticks another box.
but as per he's required to do, and then or it gets sent straight to the tribunal, and it's there is a system that is clearly flawed in an industry that spends a lot of money to make sure the product should be the best it is. And this is just something they're happy just to look past.
To be honest, I could accept if it's 1 week. If they get to the point where you go, right, you've concussed in, there's a bit, you could have done something 1 week. I could actually live with that. I just can't live with Paul Curtis, who's been one of the informed players of the competition, and missing 3 weeks for executing a perfect tackle. That's the thing. That's what rolls everyone up.
If you're asking what a player should do differently in that instance, it's not tackle.
Yes,
There's
that's
no
right.
other way that you could go and apply a tackle without doing what.
And so the messaging is strong, and this is what's going to happen. But you know what? They'll find a way to allow a Nick Dacos type to play out of a prelim final into a grand final if the same tackle happens. I just know the way the system works. Anyway, we move on. We've had enough. Jamari Ugle-Hagan, we've spoken about him on this show every single Wednesday for the season, and today we speak about it again from the view or the lens that the club and the player himself has now decided to take officially an absence of leave. I don't know what he was on the past 4 or 5 weeks anyway, because it seemed to be that's what it was on. It's now official. It's semi-official that he's not playing again for the Bulldogs and will be playing potentially elsewhere next year on the back of all the personal issues he's going through and also the behavioural components of that, which have reached this point during the week where the Bulldogs have simply said no more.
Yeah, not much else I can add to that. I think it was always heading down this path. Now they've made it official. We won't see him this year, and the next time I think we discuss him will be the trade period and what it looks like and what the Western Bulldogs are going to get for him, because I think that's long odds that he's going to be playing at the Western Bulldogs next season.
Yeah, and look, there's not much more to be said than all of that. We could talk about it for 10 minutes and say not much more than that. Guys, I want to raise Zach Butters, not so much for where he's going to be playing in 2027. He's contracted for Port in 2026 already, but it's already been talked about, or will continue to be talked about. But missing the first 3 matches as he did this season and then exploding back for the last month of football, the last 3 of those games being massive Port Adelaide wins. The Hawthorn game, just get their season going. And you're right, I think there's 3 Brownlow votes times 3 in those matches. What a player. I know that's not a secret, but just to transform a team in the 4 matches he's come back, it's quite extraordinary.
I think I officially have him as my boy from when we did a COVID game and he folded Jack Zeeble up on the Gold Coast.
That is right.
Which was one of the funnier moments we've ever seen.
Kick forward, Zeeble just pounds into Zach Butters.
And called it accordingly on Triple M, where we just laughed for 10 minutes and no one called the sport from there on.
Jack Zeeble couldn't have hit him any harder, and he got up and smiled.
He was on the ground, he looked up and started laughing at him. It was brilliant. Right. He is everything you would want to go and run out alongside. He's hard, he's tough, he's skillful, he's a competitor. And for those reasons, this is why he's going to be sought after by so many clubs, and he's going to get paid a large amount of money, if not go to the highest end of players paid in the comp, because of all those reasons. It's not speculative of what you're going to get. You know exactly what you're going to get, and it might only get better.
Yep. And speaking of knowing what you get a game of football played on the weekend, and Jack Crisp is part of it. He's been part of it since midway through 2014 when he still was a Brisbane Lions player. Obviously this week he breaks the consecutive match record of Jim Steins. He plays game number 245 in a row, obviously for Collingwood, but just get your head around all of that, to add up the 245 games, but to then take yourself back to your own life in 2014, as it was when this streak started. It is extraordinary. And given the requirements of that game to be played at that level for that many amounts of times in a row, but to then factor in, guys, what he's done in the biggest of matches that the Collingwood Footy Club has played, particularly in the 2022 and 2023 final series. We're dealing with an all-time great Collingwood player and someone who was officially going to be an all-time great AFL sequence holder.
The Champion Data have rated the top 3 finals performers over the last 10 years. It's Dustin Martin clearly at 1, Jack Crisp at 2, Luke Hodge at 3. That's the ratings that he's performed in finals over the last 10 years. It's been incredible. He's probably still been underrated with how much impact he's had at the Pies. But you're right, the professionalism, the resilience, the mental toughness to be able to play every consecutive game for 10 years is incredible. A lot of luck as well along the way to not cop an injury, but well done to Jack Crisp, and he deserves it, absolutely.
To not cop an injury is one part. He's got kids that have been in daycare.
to not
get gastro or something and miss a game.
Yeah.
But it's all part of it. Like, this is the luck involved. For anyone that's had a child in daycare or gone to school, there's a $1.01 chance at least one weekend a year you got it coming out both ends, and you cannot be playing football in white shorts. It's incredible. So well done to him.
Yeah.
I always go back to what Craig McRae said. It was after that 22 series where that preliminary final was lost by 1 point to the Swans, and he just went back over the last half an hour of that game, and he was mind blown by what Jack Crisp tried to do in that particular game. So that's even a losing final that he played in. He had impact. One more, guys. Dean Cox, 2 wins, 5 losses for his first 7 matches as an AFL coach. It's a very different Sydney Swans, and there's some question marks over him, obviously, given he's still only 7 matches in, but also where the team is at.
Joey, you were big on this at the start of the year. You came with the numbers and the understanding that for a team that gets flogged in a grand final, this is more likely than not as to how they'll be backing up next year, and we're starting to see it. Defensively, they've been horrible.
Yeah.
It looks like they're not exactly sure what they're meant to be doing, and you can't play a game of football like that if you're giving up 14 consecutive goals on the weekend. 12 in a row.
Yeah.
So, it's 12 consecutive goals. That means there's a massive deficiency in your game.
Yeah, there's a lot in it, isn't there, to fall off a cliff after playing in a grand final. It's hard to know exactly what one thing is, but clearly mental scars have got to be there somewhere to some extent. You're right. He's tried to change the system, particularly defensively.
I think he's going to be a great coach too.
Yeah.
I want to put that on the table.
Yeah.
This isn't a Dean Cox. We don't think you can coach.
It's teething issues, isn't
This
it?
is just what we're dealing with right now. I think he will be a great coach. He'll have a system that makes them compete regularly, but at the moment, it's not there.
Yeah, injuries have played a big part. I think they've tried to change their game plan, especially defensively, where they allowed a lot of uncontested marks the back half of last year. He's tried to press up and take a bit more of those away 1v1, but it's left them exposed. And
They need a
their
forward.
midfield aren't playing anywhere near they were last year, and the forward line. So a lot going on and this might just be a year, a bit of a dip year, and I'm sure they'll bounce back.
In saying that, when do they get Goulden back? Another
but
month
They
away?
may not.
Yeah.
They may not.
After the
mean,
bye?
it's that serious.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a very serious injury.
Okay.
I mean, after the bye would be I think, an early return
Right.
for him.
Yeah.
Because as a coach coming in, you want to have the chance to present your best side. Every coach does, but obviously a new coach, and that hasn't been the case. I think
Papley's massive too.
Gould and Papley are two of the more influential players, regardless of what else is going on. So unfortunately, that's just the way it is for Dean Cox at the moment.
Got a huge game against the Giants to the Swans. The former Battle of the Bridge, now the Sydney Derby. We'll get your tips soon for round 8, but up next it's Fair Dinkum or Fugazi on the Midweek Rub. You get a gig doing the quiz on the Saturday Rub if you keep that update.
Did I say I was born in 1982?
You did?
Yeah.
You're actually, that's not right.
1987. Daisy Thomas is a moron.
Damo, I'm going
Meant to be taking years off, by the way, not adding them.
You look good for your age,
Thank
mate.
you.
Tell you
Yeah.
that much.
Wow.
Damo, this year might be the worst fixtured AFL season in recent memory.
Look, recency bias says that is fair dinkum, Rabsy. Look, the opening round just did not work, and that will be changed next year when you get to this particular weekend. The Thursday and Friday night offerings are not ideal, but there was, just by way of comparison, a year of the green shoots days where that club, your club, Carlton, got a lot of Friday night games that really shouldn't have gotten the same time. So that would be the comparison. But fair dinkum, Rabsy.
Joey, the AFL have given the Gold Coast Suns a rails run to start the season.
Yeah, they've looked after him. That's fair income. West Coast to start, then Melbourne. Adelaide was a tough one, but then North Melbourne, Richmond. So it was a nice little opener. And then it gets a little bit tricky. We've got Brisbane, Bulldogs, Hawthorn, the next three, and then the juggernaut that is St Kilda. So tough little month to come, but they've shown, I still think the way they're playing is more important. They're the real deal.
Sticking with you, Joey, and sticking with the Suns, their procurement of, is that the right word there?
Procurement?
Procurement, there, we'll go with that.
Prosciutto.
Yeah. Oh, well, nice.
good.
Ooh, nice.
Of Dan Rioli and John Noble has proven to be right.
Yeah, 100%. Another one, fair income. They have made a massive difference. It's exactly what Damien Hardwick wanted out of them, and that's why they'll play finals for the first time in history.
Just making up words on this.
I like it.
podcast
I do it
at
all the
moment.
time. Just
You work with Bill.
deliver with more confidence.
It sounded right, but I knew it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Daisy, the power leaders, Ken and his captaincy group, know exactly how to motivate Jason Horne-Francis.
Fugazi, I think he's motivated regardless of what they're going to do and say to him. I really enjoyed the fact that all three of them pulled him aside on the weekend to try and calm him down. I love the fact that he walked off and then Butters pulled him back. The game is about passion. You want people who compete. You want people who want to win at all costs. And if at some point in time that means you have a little blow up and it looks and the optics aren't great from whatever we're trying to sell to junior coaches, this isn't that. This is the top level. We are playing for sheep stations. And for all those reasons, I love Jason Horne-Francis, but that little comment there was Fugazi.
I loved it too, Dace. Yep.
Yeah, me too.
Damo, Jack Silvani is underrated outside the walls of the Carlton Football Club.
I think that's Fugazi. I feel there's a good appreciation for Jack Silvani, and it's
Almost the opposite.
deserving now, isn't it? With what he's been able to do coming off a knee reconstruction to just bed down a key position post in a team that was under siege initially when he came there, but he's helped them move the barometers on it, aren't they? And the movement of the ball to itself. I got there, Joey. I got there.
You
needed to make it.
Even Damo's just
Well,
trying
you're
to
going to make it work.
I caught it off Bill, you caught it off me.
No, he's been the player we've always known. He has been a very good footballer, a very good team man. Now he's found a role and he's thriving.
I love the fact that now internally there is the worth, because for a long time it seemed like he was last in, first out, and he was the one bringing every week effort and intensity and showed that he cared. But he was thrown around. Now he's found a home. Unfortunately, he's got the broken hand. He'll miss a week, but he's been awesome, so it's great to see.
Damo, Collingwood are following the mantra of retired Australian cricketer Dan Christian, who coined the phrase, old blokes win shit.
That's a good memory, Rabsy. That is fair dinkum. I just love what they're doing. And I've loved how they responded after that opening round debacle against the Giants there in Sydney to then have 6 wins in a row. And it's been on the back of those old blokes winning, as Dan Christian said. That starts with S.
Geez, you're a clean skin.
I don't want to say it.
Say it,
Well
Damo,
done.
say
Nah,
it.
don't. You'll
Say
get
it.
nuffed. Nah, don't.
Well, Sidebottoms, he's had 4 best on ground performances.
that the S?
For the, it is, for the Triple M MVP award. Joey, there's still room for a good old coach's spray.
Yeah, fair income, 100%. If you can't handle a spray from the coach, how are you going to handle playing in a prelim? 90,000 opposition fans and players going at you. You've got to be mentally tough enough to take it, absorb it, hear the feedback. You follow up during the week. That's the thing I think everyone forgets. Ross Lyon hasn't just sprayed Hugo Garcia and then ignored him in the hallways for the next week. They've then gone through exactly what it looks like and what he needs to do better. If you take it with the way it's intended, you come back a better player.
And it sounds like Hugo Garcia is going to play again this week for the Saints. Damo, on that note, Ross's Saints will find a way to respond on Friday night.
The effort will be there.
Well,
Hey, Mafia, this isn't your question.
Sorry.
Leading the witness.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll say fair dinkum. It doesn't mean they beat the Dockers, but they, to Joey's point, they will respond, I think.
Daisy,
I only think, Joey. It's been
No,
a
that's
dreadful
fine.
3
No,
weeks.
no.
They've conceded 110 or more in
Yes.
each of the past 3. I need to see it
Yeah,
before I believe it.
You're not certain that they'll
I'm
bring
not
the heat.
certain,
Yeah,
but I'm
fair.
answering it fair dinkum.
considering the players he has out at the moment, Daisy, Bevo was at the top of his game.
That is fair income. He's arguably coach of the year so far this season. And again, you've just got to find a way to bank wins. I love the fact that he was bold enough, even the fact that they had won a few games, to drop Liam Jones, make a statement, bring a kid in. Jones had been fantastic in what he'd done up until this point. Obviously, there's some areas that Bevo had identified that he needed to work on going forward. And everything he touches at the moment, he's turning to gold. So well done. Rory Lobb becoming the most important player at the Western Bulldogs is a phrase I never thought I'd say. But he has been awesome. We have to give credit where it's due. Backline, forward, whatever it is. So well done to Bevo. Haircuts. Look, whatever, it floats your boat. But yeah, well done, Bevo.
Just double checking, this word's procured, right, Damo? All right.
Joey, do you like prosciutto?
Yes.
If Port Adelaide procured a former number 1 draft pick after just 1 year because he wanted to go home, if Zach Butters wants to do the same, they must accept that.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, well put.
Yeah, I think clubs are pretty good these days. If Zach Butters requests a trade, then I'm sure the clubs will make it work to be able to do that. You've just got to maximise what you get in return for him, and it should be a lot. So
On the back of allowing Dan Houston just to walk out in contract as well?
Yeah, that's what clubs do. Yeah. But Dan Houston was out of contract.
No,
No, he was in contract.
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure he's in
So
contract. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was.
Clubs do that these days. They're pretty good. Yeah.
All right, the final one, Daisy. From this moment, Zach Butters has been your man.
Power Pep with a tackle, and the advantage is taken, and Zachy Butters just copped his right whack because the skipper came through and smashed him, and Zach Butters smiled at him and said, "Is that all you got?"
What's happened to this kid?
I'm not sure.
Cement head.
This kid's turned into Michael Voss overnight.
And Zeebel's down.
Oh, Zeebel's down.
What's he made of, this kid?
At one point, I think we said he's over headbutting the fence.
and he was chewing glass. That was during COVID.
It was during COVID.
Yeah. 2020,
Barry
2021.
sent him out into the balcony because he kept laughing.
Yeah.
We couldn't stop. Bernie and I were on specials, and we were doing the schoolyard thing where you look at each other and then you get the chuckles. Zachy Butters, what a star. I'll tell you what that also reminds us. Geez, COVID was grim.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing.
Sounded bad.
Jeez, he's tough, though. And Port Adelaide face the Bulldogs down in the Rat this weekend. Up next, we'll get all your predictions for Round 8 on Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Joey, Daisy and Damo. Big thanks to BWS as always. And if you are having a drink watching the footy, make sure you choose to drink wise. You can catch every game across Round 8 on Triple M and the Listener app, Joey, starting tomorrow night. Marvel Stadium, Essendon versus North Melbourne.
Yes, fascinating. I just was looking at the tips then and I thought, oh no, Damo's going to jump all over me because I don't know why. Lord, I don't know why. But Paul Curtis is a massive out though.
Yeah.
Stevie J, we did the Sunday Rub, our top 5 players in the comp, Damo. Stevie J had Paul Curtis at number 5.
And probably
best players in the comp.
deservedly so with the form he'd been in.
He's a big out. Oh,
Do it.
I'll tip North Melbourne again. I will fall in again and tip North Melbourne. I think they'll get a look. They'll get a chance offensively.
They always get a look.
I thought they were pretty good against Port Adelaide. Other than the last 5 minutes of that first quarter where they conceded 3 goals in a hurry, they were pretty good. I think they can win.
I think they can win too, but my logic is just don't tip them. But I nearly was going to follow you in, Joey, and that will surprise you.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
but I'm not.
Do it.
But no, well, if Curtis was in, I would. And look, maybe they may appeal it and maybe he may miraculously get off, but Essendon for that reason.
I'm going to come with you.
Yes.
Yeah, for the same feel. Surely.
You know what?
Do it.
I'm going to change.
Oh.
We're all in. All three of us
We
are
are
in.
on North.
chips in on
Here we
North
come.
Melbourne.
Here we
Push
come.
the
We're all in.
pile.
I'll make us look like idiots.
She's ought to have 70.
Yep.
Yeah, I hope he does.
Yeah.
A lot of metres gained.
Yeah.
Marky will kick straight. Yeah, I reckon they can.
Yeah, there's
All right,
upside.
North, we're in.
North Melbourne officially are not appealing as well, but that
They're
you
not.
can't, you can't change your tip.
I'll
No,
go with
they're in.
Bombers.
And the
No.
ruck battle between Goldstein and Sherry is going to be fascinating as well.
Didn't think of that. Essendon for me.
Let's go to St Kilda versus Fremantle on Friday night, again at Marvel Stadium, Damo.
I'm going to stick with the Dockers. I mean, Joey's point before, they will respond, and I do believe they will, but I still have high aspirations for Fremantle. I know they have that for themselves as well, and if that's the case, they're going to beat the Saints on Friday night in Melbourne in this game.
Be a massive setback for Fremantle if they were to drop this. I do think St Kilda will be fired up. Ross will get them to bring the heat, but whether they're good enough, I don't think they are. So Fremantle should be winning this game.
Yeah, I walked into the Saints trap last week thinking that'd be the case against Brisbane, but Brisbane were just too classy and too many winners on the field. It'll be better from St Kilda, but you're right. If Fremantle drop this, they've got more issues than we think. They should just find a way to win.
Ross said this morning that Mateus Philippou will play if he gets through training today as well.
Straight into the seniors. Wow.
He was the kid that asked to go back to the VFL to find form at one point.
He was. Yep.
Western Bulldogs versus Port Adelaide down at the Rat on Saturday days.
Oh,
You think an outsider?
I don't know who is the outsider. Probably the Dogs.
No.
No,
They're
They're
short
favourites,
price, aren't
they? Okay.
Surely.
They're very good about. I'm going to go with Port. I think they're finding it. What
Okay.
it is.
Dogs at Ballarat. Dogs at Ballarat for me. They don't lose there too often.
You sounded very sure there,
Well,
Dave.
yeah, no, I'm not. But Port with no confidence then.
What's it, by the way?
It is the mojo they're getting back. I know
Sounds like,
Robbo's big on the
aura.
mojo, but you know,
Fugazi.
It's the vibe.
from what they've come, it's everything. you know.
No, I'm with you, but
He's A3.
to Joey's point, the venue being the reason I'm tipping the Bulldogs.
Tough couple of games there. What about Adelaide versus Carlton?
I would have given Carlton a chance as my outsider, but some big outs. Silvani, a big one.
Yep.
Chera, as we speak, going to go challenge his suspension. He might get off that. That was ridiculous, by the way, Adam Cherry getting 1 week for pushing Bowes, and it just got him in the chin, and he's missing a week of footy.
It's that open palm movement, though.
Yeah, but there was Bowes pushed him first. He went to push him back.
Got
As
him
you
in
do
the
it,
head.
as you do it to stop. Oh, I clipped him on the chin.
Seemed to knock him around a little bit.
Oh, please. I can't believe he's got a week for that. But so for that reason, I'm just going to have to stick with Adelaide at home.
Damo?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I'll go for Adelaide, but I haven't thought deeply about this one.
I'm going with the Crom. I'm starting to lean towards the Blues because they were good. This was the test last week. I thought they had to pass because 2 easy kills the weeks before. 1 more week and I might jump on board, but for the moment, the Crows.
Damo, we've got the Battle of the Bridge on Sunday, but Saturday night at the G, we've got the Battle of the Retirement Homes, Collingwood versus Geelong.
My logic just tipped Geelong every week for the last 20 years, and it works, so Geelong. But there's no confidence in that tip, Rabs. I love what the Pies are doing, but the Cats.
Going to be a cracking game of football. Cannot wait. We'll be covering it for the M, so very much looking forward to it. The Pies are flying. I just am slightly worried about how they're going to be adjudicated for manning the mark. Watch this space, Joey. So for that reason, I'm
So
going
they've
to
been
tip
creeping
the Cats.
around a bit, have they?
There'd been some movement. It was said, we chatted to Brad Scott last night. They had sent it off to AFL House, and apparently it won't go back to him. It'll then be passed on to Collingwood as to how they're going to do it. They were different in that manner against the GWS Giants in round 0. Since then, they've adjusted.
Just pushing the boundaries a little bit on what you can and can't do on the mark.
Yes.
Just cribbing,
I like
protecting the corridor again. Smart by Collingwood. That's
Was.
what
You
old
gotta
teams do. They're smart. They're the smartest.
Continue to bend the rules, so I'm going to tip the Cats in a close
They're
one.
the smartest football team in the comp, Collingwood. I've tipped Geelong every single week so far this season, so for that reason, I'll tip Collingwood this week.
Daisy, do we give West Coast any chance against Melbourne at Optus Stadium?
Yeah, we do. We have to. These are the games that they can find something and be competitive. We saw it the other week with the Essendon game. I'm not going to tip them, but I think they can be more than competitive. I'll tip the D's.
I like what the D's have done the past 2 weeks. To answer your question, Rabsy, I agree with D's. They are a chance, the Eagles, but Demons for me.
West Coast, definitely a chance, but I will just tip Melbourne.
Sticking with you, the Battle of the Bridge, the Sydney Derby, the Swans versus the Giants, SCG Sunday.
Two teams looking to bounce back. I think Giants should win this game. I think they're the better talented side. They've got more talent out there. Their midfield have got to get to work, but this is a big game for Jake Stringer. You watch him hit some form in this one.
Worried about them. The 4 goals only against Adelaide in round 6 and the bad performance last week against the Bulldogs, but I'm going to back them in the Giants to beat Sydney here.
They've had a little bit of these ruts throughout the past couple of seasons as well, put in a couple of stinkers and then come good. I can just take them more on trust than what I'm seeing defensively from the Swans at the minute, so the Giants for me.
Yep.
Richmond are exciting young side, Damo, some good youngsters coming through. Any chance against the Hawks on Sunday?
No, Hawthorn quite easily in this one.
I think they're been defending pretty strong, Richmond, so they might not get blown out, but that 30-40 point margin I think will be fair. Hopefully they're just competitive for a long time.
Concur.
All right, sticking with you, Days. Hopefully some more words for this one. Brisbane versus Gold Coast, the QClash to round out round 8.
All aboard the Gold Coast train, Rabsy. Here we go. This is the moment where this football club announces itself. These blokes have arrived. They're playing some unbelievable defensive-first football, which we haven't seen. That's the Damien Hardwick approach. They've got stars going through the centre. They've got stars up forward. They will get it done, and I think they make a statement this week.
There's going to be a bit of this is our patch from the Lions.
Big brother,
in
little
this game.
brother.
Yeah, and whether that gets them the win, I'm going to tip it to do that. The Lions beating the Suns, but I'm on the Suns train in the big picture.
Yeah, hold the doors open for me. I'm coming to the platform. I'm getting on board. I am on the Gold Coast train. I think they can win this game. They're playing the better football. So I'm going to think that form will continue and they will make a big statement Sunday night.
Zorko and Miller, any time?
Oh, for sure. Can't wait. They might actually line up at each other because Miller's been starting more as a half forward. He should go straight to half forward and stand next to Zorko. That'd be great.
It's guaranteed to happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you can catch every game across round 8 on Triple M and the Listener app, starting tomorrow night with Thursday Rub ahead of Essendon versus North Melbourne from Marvel Stadium. Jack Heverin, Kate McCarthy, Isaac Smith and Jay-Z Clark. This has been Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub.